All right, hi again, everybody. I'm Chuck Guglielmo, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. And today, my very special guest is going to be Colin Fagan. Colin, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Chuck?
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We're going to do a little trash talking, not the trash talking that you see professional sport athletes do with each other, like the Steelers and the Bengals this weekend. But we're going to do some trash talking here in the city, because that seems to be a big issue right now, going to a single trash hauling company. First of all, Colin, tell us about your company, and tell us about yourself,
Okay.
what you've done leading up to your current spot here with C&C Disposal.
Okay, well, my wife and I live in Asheville Township. I've lived there for 20 years. We have a son, Mason, who's 10 and a half years old. And see, I used to work for the Star Beacon back in the early 90s as a part-time sports writer. I worked for a cleaning company for 20 years, JV's Cleaning. I got a part-time job at ODOT back in the late 90s. Then got hired at the City of Asheville, the sanitation department, and worked there for 8 years. In the midst of that, long story short, they were going to have layoffs for the first time there at the city, maybe 2010 or 11, the first time in 28 years. So the idea kind of came about to start our own trash business. If I were to get laid off, I was very concerned about that. What else would I do? I thought I knew the trade, thought I was pretty good at it. So the idea kind of came about after All County Disposal had sold out to Waste Management in September 2010. So my wife and I came up with the idea, well, maybe you can start picking up trash on the weekends on your own, buy your own truck. And I kind of fluffed it off, but it became reality when, quite frankly, Waste Management was one of the only real option for a lot of people, especially here in Conneaut. In the beginning of 2011, there weren't too many other options for people to go to for trash shipments. We used to just work on Thursdays or Saturday afternoons, and here it is 5 years later. We have 5 full-size compactor trash trucks, over 3,300 customers. My wife and I own and run the business since the beginning. We have 2 full-time employees plus myself, and a couple of part-time employees. And I think it's done pretty well for the entire community, from Conneaut here all the way to Saybrook. We service that area, a little bit south past Route 84, and I think it's been healthy competition, you know, for this area and this northern part of the county, to be able to give people just another option instead of having to. I still remember, you know, a lot of the people's complaints, justifiably so, some of the outrageous prices they were paying for trash, and I think it's a good local business or trade. It's still very important for this area. People don't always think of trash that way, but when you get that bill and it might be $40 a month, and oh my gosh, then it's good to think that you have another local business with,
Sure.
you know, employing local residents. So that's kind of how this came about.
Now, Conneaut City, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, looked at the single trash hauling. I don't know if it went away, but there was no more discussion on it. And what made it come back?
And I've always kept up on current events and articles. I've kept everything. But I believe what has brought it to the forefront here lately is, I think the city manager is very passionate about it, the new city manager here, and the fact that recycling has to be available to 90% of the county, and Conneaut being, you know, the largest city acreage-wise in the state. It's a large area to cover. So I think the need for recycling resurfaced, and they kind of threw that in with this wanting to go to one trash hauler option. But I've been outspoken and strongly disagree with that, because I don't think you need one of anything to be able to still get the service, whatever it is, in any community.
Now, they have to have a third reading, is that correct?
Yes, that should be this evening, 7 o'clock.
That is this evening?
Yes.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
So a third reading. I have a couple quotes.
Sure.
You had said maybe a month or so ago that with people being able to bid for this position, that you didn't feel that your company or any smaller company would have a chance?
We would have a chance. I stated, I mean, we could do the job with the employees we have, with the resources we have, the trucks we have. And it's not about, I don't believe, being able to provide that service locally, but, and this is where it gets pretty dicey, for what the city is looking for and all the different options, I believe, it's just not cost effective for a smaller company to be able to, you would probably have to take a loss with the amount they would, and all the services they would like done. You would have to take a loss for possibly 1 year, 2 years, unless you had the ability to you know, do recycling all the way. I just think for what they're asking, what you need to do, it just takes a little more time for some smaller businesses to accomplish that and make a profit. Now you could do it, but you know, there's only one trash hauler in the whole county that could, you know, stand to do all these services, possibly take a loss, which they wouldn't do for long, and that's, you know, a global giant. So I think that's the real issue there.
I was reading somewhere in one of those articles that it doesn't have to be one person bidding on it. It could be a group of haulers bidding on it. Now, how would that work?
Well, the way I understand it, that's not exactly true. That's why
I wrote your notes too.
Oh, yes, no, you betcha. Well, I met with Mr. Hockenby Friday afternoon just to get a little more insight. And this is the actual proposal that will be read at council this evening. You'd give me a copy. It's hung up in the hallway there on the second floor. And that might be how they're trying to portray it, I believe. I just think that's not 100% accurate, because if you were to read all this, and I tried to highlight some of the points here, it says, you know, for one single hauler or franchise under the, you know, shall engage in the business of collecting residential waste and recyclables as one exclusive franchise. So I just don't think you could get, it would almost be like somebody secures the contract, right? Then say Waste Management gets it, then they would have the ability, like any other contractor service, to subcontract out, you know, more of those services or recycling to smaller businesses. Well, Waste Management isn't going to subcontract out anything, nor would any large company. I would even say myself, if I felt I could do it and I could bid on it, I should be able to do it myself. That's just how I feel. And so I just think that's being misportrayed, in my opinion, that you could get others to come in and still do the job, yet still one other company would be responsible for all that. I just disagree with that.
Any idea about how many trash haulers the Ashtabula County has that could possibly bid on this?
Well, Ashtabula County, now that's, again, that could possibly bid on this. I believe there would be only 3 in Ashtabula County. Waste Management, us, and I would dare say the City of Ashtabula. Others that operate in the county that do mostly just commercial dumpsters are not from this county, like Sunburst, they're from Trumbull County. Jim Doherty, trucking, he does not come all the way out this way. Although he is located in Ashtabula County in Harpersfield, he does mostly roll-off containers. And so, not to speak for him, but he doesn't operate much more past Ashtabula Township, Kingsville Way. So, to my knowledge, there are only 3 companies, I believe, located in this county that would bid or have the ability to provide what the city is looking for. Waste Management, CNC Disposal, and the City of Ashtabula.
From the city's point of view, what do you think their advantages would be to having a single trash hauler?
Well,
from their point of view.
Oh yeah, well, and I feel I'm a pretty objective guy. I could see the need for wanting to make sure everything is picked up, to clean up the city and make it a top priority, and to hold one entity responsible for all that. And maybe they could secure lower prices, lower rates. That is an honest, I think, option. But what else from the city? For what they're asking for, I think they're obviously trying to get the best deal possible. I believe they're truthful when they say that. But I also feel that, I've been in this line of work for 10 years. I think I know pretty well how it works, and I don't know if they understand, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. So I just think that's the catch-22 of the whole thing. But there are good positives, and recycling option and availability. Obviously, the city has to be able to provide that in some form, and to have one trash hauler provide that and be solely responsible for it, obviously it takes a lot of the pressure off of them having to try to find 3 or 4 different people to do it. So that would be a benefit to the city.
If we had one trash hauler in the city, would that be a 5-day pickup? Would that cover the entire city, one trash hauler, 5 days?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I'm not sure how they have it set up on, like, which wards would be picked up on certain days. I know the health department had set aside certain areas for pickup Monday through Thursday. The city does not want, and I believe is going to stick to that, not having trash pickup on Fridays, residential trash pickup on Fridays or Saturday or Sunday. So I would say it would probably be a 4-day-a-week event, but again, they're saying that it's only 4,400, it's 4,477 homes. So I'm not sure if they would spread that out over 4 days. It would encompass everything from Lake Road, cottages, south to a couple of homes, I guess, right there by Under Ridge Road and Love.
So we don't go into Monroe Township?
That would not be affected, I don't believe, no. No, because I had asked that question, and the city manager had said, and he showed me a map the one evening after one of the last council meeting I went to, and he showed me a map that he said it would take you right up to about that point. So everything south of that would not be affected by this, the way I understand it.
Do your relationship with the city manager and city council is going well?
No.
I mean,
I would say no.
but I mean, what I mean by that, I guess I didn't want to write. You're able to converse. It's not like, we're not talking for a week or 2 weeks like that.
I would say Mr. Huckabee is very accessible and easy to talk to. And some of the other council members, I know Mr. Roach fairly well. Mr. Hedrick is a good guy. Mr. Garcia. I'm not sure about some of theirs. I don't know them as well personally. But I think they would be open, and they've always said you could approach them on this topic. They invited people many times over the last couple of years, especially the last 6-7 months, to come to the work sessions. I've gone to 1 or 2 of those along with council meetings just to get their feedback. And they've asked for your opinion. How can you revamp this? What are your ideas? So I've gone to some of those. But I believe Bob the Hoss has probably been the most vocal and the most involved of any local trash hauler, because he owns and operates from this area.
Now, when the city first talked about this, like I said, 2 or 3 years ago, we had another city manager. Did you have conversations with him on this?
No, I never talked to him personally about that. I don't think it was as well orchestrated or condensed, and I don't think
not as strong as it's. You're getting the feeling it is now.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot. But I also believe, not to give any disrespect, but I also believe that city manager is definitely in the forefront of this. Has been pushing this. Has been one of his top objectives since being hired, along with the council president. They feel very strongly about this, and I believe those are the 2 that have really pushed hard for it, as opposed to the old city manager. And
all the council members as well feel just as strong.
To my knowledge, I would say probably 5 of the 7. Yes, I will venture to say we'll vote for this. I'm not going to speak for anybody, but that's just my feeling.
What about the audience during city council meetings? What's some of their feedback that the city manager's getting?
To my knowledge, again, we've had several calls at home. I've talked to quite a few residents, customers and non-customers, on the phone, my wife, emails, lots of them, obviously. 2 of the 3 days last week, there were editorials in the Star Beacon, and the Star Beacon had their own editorial opinion on this in yesterday's paper, quite lengthy. I think it was Sunday's paper. So I believe 90% of what I've heard, and residents who have talked to me and sat in on the council meetings have been opposed to it. And I remember, like I said, 2-3 years ago when it was becoming a big topic, and it was in the summertime, people had started petitions, had gone around town. And being it was summertime, I think you could get out more, converse more, and it was a lot more well-known at the time, so people opposed it quite a bit then too. But I just think the overwhelming majority of the people I've heard and spoken to residents, or customers and non-customers have been opposed to it.
You talked about the advantages from the city's point of view. What about disadvantages now?
Well, that's where I think one of the bigger problems comes in. You could get all the services you want, and for what they're looking for, and let's just throw out a number, like say $15 a month, and get all these services. But I just don't think any company can operate giving everything the city wants, okay, for a 2 or 3 year period and make money unless they're willing to lose some money at the beginning, because it would just, you would have to have all the extra resources, dumpsters, everything done and in place and coordinated already, basically to be doing the recycling and everything and taking it far away places. And be able to say, okay, I'll take a loss and then wait for your money, because the way it's set up, just like now, if people don't pay, you have to wait to get your money. Well, if it's 50, 100 customers, okay. But if you're going to ask like 500, 1,000 customers, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not in a position to wait 2 or 3 months to keep waiting to get paid, yet still provide a service. That's a huge disadvantage to smaller business. You kind of, you need that consistent cash flow in and out, in and out, in and out. Well, only one company can take that type of loss or wait to get their money or wait to get paid for services they've already rendered. That obviously is waste management. So I think that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, drawback from a hauler's perspective.
For those residents that are already with you, CNC Disposal, do they pay by the month, or do you offer a yearly plan?
Yes. Most.
Is it cheaper for a yearly
yes,
plan?
Yeah. Usually, if you were to pay for a year, we give you 11 months of service, or 12 months of service. I'm sorry, for 11 months, and sometimes we even knock down the monthly rate for that, because obviously it's less billing and time for us to have to do it that way. And some people, if they're on vacation a lot or they live in the cottages, they only pay maybe 6, 7 months out of the year, as opposed to having to pay for 12 months when they're not here for 4 or 5. But our most consistent way of paying is quarterly, so every 3 months is the normal way we do it. But and I remember when we started this business, there's a lot of people that are on fixed incomes, can't pay every 3 months. So we do work with people, which a lot of the larger businesses, they won't do it. They don't do that, man. They won't. So somebody has to, if they're late on their bill, my wife is a lot more generous than I am. Letting somebody extend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks after what their due date would be and still provide the service. So I think that's a huge advantage of a smaller company in any field.
Do you have trash limitations with CNC Disposal, where how much you can put out and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. There's always has to be a limit, because you have people call, I thought I had unlimited trash. Well, when I worked at the City of Asheville, unlimited trash would be filling up this room. No, I'm not kidding you. But yeah, we do have limitations, but you can always, if you want to put out more, you just have to pay a little more. It's all based on volume and what your usage is. And I think almost every hauler has some type of stipulation like that, or otherwise, that gray area gets huge. You just got to be careful on that.
Earlier, I had a quote from you, and you said not necessarily true. So let's try another quote.
Sure. All right.
Customers would be robbed from their freedom of choice and could cause economic harm to the unsuccessful bidder.
I do.
Go into detail on that.
Yes. Well, like anything else, I believe most people just in life, especially in any service, want an option. Like even here in Conneaut, I got to be honest, you're very lucky to even have cable 224, and have different options for your cable provider, along with trash. We don't have that local, like in Asheville or Kingsville, it's Conneaut. So I think you'd be taking away that person's right to choose it, even if it is, some people think it's only trash, but you still have the ability, if you're not happy with the service, if you feel you're paying too much, if you're unhappy for whatever the reason is, you can just pick up the phone and call someone else. If smaller businesses aren't around to even compete and give another option, where, like I stated, at the beginning of our talk, once all county disposal went away, there weren't too many other options out here. So I just think you could definitely squeeze out smaller businesses or competition by going to that process. Maybe not in the first year, but 2, 3, 4 years from now, you may not have any other options. And I just don't know if the city's really look at that option down the road, man. And I just gotta say, I hate to step on your toes, but, you know, council members and the city manager, they work for you. You know, they work for you, the resident. If you're unhappy and people have called their council person, do it. Even if you're for this, opposed to this, whatever it is, they work for you, okay? And if they don't quite do things or vote on them the way you like, just let them know. Just let them know, because I just feel the long-term effects of this type of decision, it could even lead past, you know, trash, and maybe, I don't know, where does it stop? You can only have one cable provider, you can only have one roofer, I mean, those type of decisions, that's the way I look at it down the road, it could lead to that.
Another quote here, other concerns should top garbage collection on the city's to-do list. Your priorities should be things that affect people on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, and to be honest, I said that the last council meeting I went to, December 14th, but I got a lot of that information and how I feel strongly about that from when I worked at the city of Ashtabula. But it's true in every community, especially around Ashtabula. There are so many more pressing issues, I gotta believe. I mean, the week after, even I had said that, there was a huge article about, you know, not being able to plow and provide enough salt to the streets.
The low salt diet.
Yeah, oh, big time. Oh, man. I mean, that's a bigger issue for everybody, going to school, going to work.
Or your trash hauling.
Oh, you're not kidding. That makes it really, really tough. And obviously, you know, there's been an epidemic in all the communities, you know, with drugs. So I just feel those type of day-to-day issues that face every single person should be more, you know, on the forefront than trash. But every week when you open up the paper, it has been a large topic. But, I mean, those affect people on a day-to-day basis. Like you said, being able to come to a nice facility like, you know, the Conneaut Library, getting the funding for it. Obviously, jobs. I mean, if there were more jobs available to people around the community, you know, maybe they wouldn't have to, you know, worry about not being able to pay the trash bill or water bill or whatnot. So I just think those are just a lot bigger issues that face this whole area.
So if you end up bidding, and I'm assuming you're probably going to have to bid,
Yes.
What would the specifications have to be on that bid?
Well, they're supposed to lay that out to the public, and I guess it's supposed to be available to everybody after this evening. Now, Mr. Hockendy and I looked over it. He showed me a couple of bits and pieces of it Friday afternoon. But a lot of it's going to come down to, like I said, about 4,477 residential single-family dwelling and 6 or 7 dumpsters at the city locations, police department, fire department, city hall, places like that that they would want you to empty. Roll-offs, providing roll-offs at certain times a year at X amount of a price. Pretty much, obviously recycling being available to all those same homes with the trash availability. What else? Getting it done, I remember this much, you would have like from 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and then, but they didn't specify which days of the week that they would want you to do it. But I just believe there was a lot more they were trying to encompass in the whole bid than what you might be able to actually turn a profit on in the long run. I just think that's a problem.
So after the January 11th council meeting, when do you anticipate bidding can start? When do you think you can put your bid in?
Oh, well, I believe they said you can start tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can start tomorrow, and I believe they said, I thought it was up till March 31st, I think,
So
basically like 2 months.
So about a 2-month bidding period,
Yes,
and then the negotiations would start right after that?
I believe so. I think that's how they'd like it to go. But obviously, the city's still, you know, they're leaving themselves open there for, you know, a nice out, that if they don't like any of the bids, and tonight's vote is just to say that the city is allowed to take bids for one homeowner, not obviously awarding to anybody. They're just allowed to look at their options. But they wanted the whole structure and plan to start July 1st of this year. So obviously, I would assume if they awarded a plan April, early May, you know, you got to be ready to go July 1st. So I just think, you know, they're giving enough time for you as a hauler to.
So earlier you had mentioned you thought there would be about 3 from the county,
Correct.
C&C, B&B, and waste management?
In the city of Ashtabula. In the city
In
of
the city of
Ashtabula.
Ashtabula.
Yes, they have the, the trucks to do it.
Would it surprise you if there was more than that?
From the county, yes, yes it would, because I don't know anybody else that operates in Ashtabula County, that is from Ashtabula County, now I shouldn't say operates, but is from Ashtabula County that provides, trash hauling. Like I said, Jim Doherty Trucking in Harpersville, so I would count him also, but I don't know anybody else that's located here.
So once the bids are in and the negotiation is in, when does it look like it may launch?
Well, again, July 1st is the official beginning date. That's what the city wants for what they're putting the bid out for to begin. But I believe, they would want to award the bid as soon as possible. So it'd be easier on the hauler, easier on the city to iron out any other disagreements or discrepancies in there.
Okay, so about a July target date.
Yes.
So what would happen to the residents that have already paid for the year, like say February or March?
Well, they would either probably, I'm guessing, A, be entitled to some type of refund, or B, maybe not get their money back. If they paid
That's what I would be concerned about.
Oh, yes, if you're a resident and you paid for X amount of service, or a service for X amount of time, then the city goes and makes, an ordinance that said, it says it in here, if you were to continue to still pick up after the bid had been awarded, say after July 1st, and we were to pick up for the next 3 months for people who had already paid, you'll be fined X amount of money, you could be, they could take your truck, confiscate your truck. I mean, there's a lot of bad things that could happen to you.
So do you think, would it be smart for customers right now maybe not to pay for the year?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. Yes, as a customer, yes. But, again, that's why I think the whole thing hasn't been thought out as well. You still could have the city and or the residents,
Has that question been raised to the
No,
city council?
no, I don't believe so at all. I never thought that one out, and that is a problem, because if you're a business and say you've got, $10, $15, $20,000 waiting there to still provide the service to people, I don't know if you really legally are entitled to have to give it back, because you still are and want to provide the service. But the city's saying, no, you can't, because then you'll be fined. That's, how do you iron that one out?
Exactly.
And the city just kind of throws it back on you, the hauler, and then you and the customer are dickering, and you kind of look like, that's bad publicity, you don't want that. And that's just how I feel, that the city kind of absolves themselves of that responsibility, and I don't think that's right.
So in closing, Colin, what do you expect to hear at the January 11th council meeting tonight? What are you expecting to hear?
That it'll pass, probably, I'm guessing, like maybe a 5-2 vote. They'll be very happy about it.
So you don't think there's any chance that it won't pass?
No, I don't. I got, and I'm usually not a real confident guy,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you, it's probably 90% sure that this ordinance will pass this evening.
Okay. So do you expect any feedback tonight?
I would hope so.
January 11th?
Yeah, I would hope so. Like I said, even myself, and council members, all the city manager's office, if you're a resident and you feel that strongly about it, you should contact your council person. That's how the normal process of government works. They work for you, be it this issue or others. Get your road salted too. But yeah, I just think after this evening, there'll be a whole nother set of, I think, disagreements, arguments, and a whole nother step. It just seems like it's going to be a step-by-step process. Once now you get into step 2 about it's actually been passed and it's finalized. Like you had asked, what do you do next? What's next?
So when I get my Star Beacon tomorrow, it'll probably be on page 1 up there in the headlines.
It could be. Thank you, Mark Todd.
Well, good luck to you, Colin.
Thank you.
Hope things work out for you. And thanks for being my guest on Around the Town with Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck. It was good to see you again.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
very much.
That was Colin Fagan of C&C Disposal, and that's another edition of Around the Town with Chuck.